Steve Walls here live on the field, post-game show with Darren Smith. The Chiefs fall to the Detroit Lions in their home opener, the banner day, the hype day, the day that Patrick Mahomes just doesn't lose, man. Darren, coming into this game, Patrick Mahomes was 5-0 in his first game of the
I think
season.
18 touchdowns, 0
18
interceptions.
touchdowns, yes.
Everything went out
what
the
do you
window.
think about today?
I know Las Vegas is happy. I mean, they are really happy because there was a lot of slips that were blown tonight. But that being said, I don't know if I'm stunned, surprised, or I don't want to say disappointed because it's not like we played in the game or anything like that. But I think more shocked at the outcome, and I think more so because it was by their own doing. It wasn't really anything that Detroit did, especially when you look at the start of the second half. I mean, that was all Kansas City, and they had so many drop passes tonight.
Yep.
That I know you kind of joked about it after the game when we were still in the tunnel, that they should probably be out here catching passes off the jug machine right now, because that's how bad that they were this evening.
And you mentioned passing. 12 players caught a pass from Patrick Mahomes. Isaiah Pacheco led all with 4 targets, 31 receiving yards.
Yeah, we knew early on that it wasn't going to be a good passing. I think the longest pass reception was by MVS. I think it was like 34 yards. I mean, he only had 2 or 3 catches tonight, and the fact that they're starting receivers, Kadarius Toney, I think, may have had 1 catch, if any.
Yeah.
Sky Moore, was 0 for tonight. It was really surprising and disappointing, and don't know if it was lack of playing in the preseason or just I can't say it was jitters. I mean, I don't know. And then of course we were in the locker room, so we didn't get a chance to hear what Andy and Patrick said post game. So we'll have to go back and see what you were able to stream. And so I'm really at a loss for words. I mean, we got a chance to talk to some of the players after the game, and to get their thoughts on what they felt, were their shortcomings tonight, and a lot of it, basically, when I talked to Jerick McKinnon, came down to execution. They just didn't execute.
And you mentioned Jerick McKinnon, who's a running back. However, none of the running backs led the team in rushing. It was all Patrick Mahomes with 6 attempts for 45 yards, man. And we've talked about this at length a few times before.
Yeah.
Anytime your quarterback leads your team in rushing and he's not a running back, there's a problem.
I think about back to our pregame show, and we talked about the last time that Patrick played without Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm.
He threw for 4 touchdowns, but didn't even have a rushing attempt this time. I mean, by the end of the first half, he had already had 24, 27 rushing yards, and so it was really, man, just one of those times where it was really disappointing in the outcome, and it just seemed like everything was flat tonight. I mean, because either Patrick was underthrowing, throwing behind receivers, overthrowing receivers dropping passes. I just don't have an answer.
And this was not the result that, of course, Chiefs fans wanted. This was not the result that anyone thought would happen. But early on in the week, there was some news. Travis Kelce, of course, would be a game-time decision.
Yeah.
He did not end up playing. Did that affect this offense at all? What do you think?
I would be lying if I said it didn't. Yeah. You could tell that it did, because there were a lot of third and short plays or second and short plays, especially on 4th and 2 where they didn't go for in the red zone. Those were plays that if Kelce's there, those drives were extended. Those plays are completed. Maybe may end up in a touchdown. So his presence was definitely missed. But we always talk about, and look, I'm someone who don't deal in excuses.
Right.
Let's talk about next man up. These players had opportunities. Bell, Gray. I mean, all these players had opportunities, and when the Brights were shining the most, they allowed a lot of those balls to just go through the hands and hit the turf.
Kadarius Toney was targeted 5 times, only caught 1 reception for 1 yard. A lot of people, including myself, I felt like
thought he shouldn't have been playing tonight.
I felt like you didn't play all preseason. You got surgery on your knee, and they come out and to be honest, one of the biggest games of the season, because it's banner night.
Yeah, right.
It's you're the returning champion from the following year, and you don't want to lose at home, and you target a guy who hasn't played at all. And to me, it just looked like timing.
Well, in the case running routes, yes, but the fact that the ball hit his hands,
Mhm.
I can't blame it on time. I just blame that on he wasn't focused or he was afraid of getting hit, because that's what I saw a lot of times in the binoculars.
Yeah.
A lot of these players, I mean, you can see if they'd have caught the ball, they're getting hit. Well, my thing is you're gonna get hit anyway, so catch the
Right.
football.
Right.
And so to your point about him maybe not playing, I mean, he went through the work. I mean, he did everything to prepare himself to be able to play. So I can't really, if you go through it, because look, had he had a big game tonight, then what would we have said?
Of course. Of
So
course.
yeah, but as you mentioned, they're professionals.
Of course. I did.
I mean, they got to make those plays, they got to make those catches. And again,
Of course.
a lot, and I was wondering whether or not the fact that they didn't play a lot in preseason would come back to haunt them. Because it was 2 weeks ago and last week was kind of bye week, I'm gonna just say it is what it is.
Yeah.
But as it relates to the execution, yeah, I don't. Kelsey was definitely missed tonight, but even without Kelsey, Patrick was missing too many easy throws.
I agree. Now you talk about someone who was missing, including Kelsey, Chris Jones, another guy who
Yep.
he was missing on the field, but not missing in the stadium. He sat, right up in one of the suites, and every time the Chiefs did something, as far as every time the Detroit Lions did something, they'll pan the camera to Chris Jones.
You must have more than that, because I thought I only saw it from the very beginning when they first showed him before the game. I didn't. Yeah, so I'm saying if they showed him throughout the game, I did not see. So
a few different pictures floating around on Twitter.
Okay.
A lot of the players post game said that they really didn't need,
Yeah, I was gonna kind of save those comments for our post game on Monday. But yes, in talking to some of the players, and we're not going to name names, but off the record, they told us that they held them to 14 points.
Right.
Let me watch. So I'm just going to say they held them to 14 points. And that's it. I don't want to say anything more because I don't want to.
Yeah, no. Here's the thing. Here's the thing about that. Whether they needed him or did not need him, the defense played pretty well.
The defense played great. Let me say this: the defense played great. The offense is what let them down tonight.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go out on my own sword. It was the play calling. It was the quarterback. It was the wide receivers. And to an extent, it was the offensive line as well. Because again, Mahomes should not be the leading rusher. Now, take that, do with it what you want. The receivers dropped too many easy passes. Patrick was overthrowing, as I mentioned before, throwing behind players, underthrowing them, and he was also holding on to the football too long. So, and then the play calling to me was atrocious because coming out of the half, where they led 14-7. I think they might have been 3 and out or whatever to where they didn't even get the ball to half, to midfield to even put themselves in a chance to score. Then the defense held them, got the ball back for them, and it was 3 and out once again. So I mean, I kind of joked about it on Twitter, but I was halfway serious. I wonder who they're going to blame because over the years, when the team lost and the offense didn't look good, everybody wanted to blame Eric Bieniemy. But then when the offense was putting up a lot of points, it was Andy Reid getting all the credit, not Eric Bieniemy. So I want to know who's getting the blame tonight for the offensive performance.
Right, and sometimes I think fans, they look for someone to blame. I mean, it's sports, right? You got to have someone to blame, wins and losses. And sometimes things don't go your way. And I think this is just one of the nights that things didn't just go the Chiefs' way.
Yeah, and the good thing is you got 10 days until your next game against Jacksonville,
In Jacksonville.
The bad thing is that, some of the other teams in your division can actually go up 1-0 and then you're, looking from the bottom on up. So we'll see. I mean, a lot of, again, as we talked about, a lot of things that would lead the season, Patrick being undefeated, Andy having a great record to start the season off after a bye, and Patrick, not throwing any interceptions. All of that is now out the window. Now, the good thing is, you don't have to worry, and I didn't predict them going 20-0, so that's a point right there. So the fact that you don't have to worry about trying to go undefeated, now you just worry about trying to play football, getting back on track. And again, this is not now. This is what I will say. A team like Jacksonville needs to watch out because the question is, how's Mahomes and this offense gonna react coming back off of this type of loss.
Who's to blame on this loss? I see people talking, front office. I see people talking Andy Reid, Chris Jones. Who's to blame for this loss?
Andy Reid.
Okay.
I mean, because it all starts. Well, he's a leader. Because question, and I don't know if he went in the post game, but I'm pretty sure he said he didn't have the players prepared for the game.
Of course.
I mean, because that's what he always says after a loss. But also, I asked him in the presser this week, about the pomp and circumstance of getting the players ready. He said they'd be ready. When we saw tonight, they wasn't ready. So
yeah. All right. Well, I tell you, who will be ready.
Who do you think? Who do you think is to blame? I mean, because granted, we can give it all. We can dish to a lot of people.
No. I put this game on the Chiefs' offense as a whole. No one stepped up. I mean, you saw Patrick. Anytime this game kind of reminds me of any game that Patrick Mahomes has to run for his life. And tonight was one of those games.
But here's the thing. It wasn't like he was under a lot of pressure. He was just holding on to the football so long to where he just ended up having to run. Yeah. I mean, because again, there were like really 2 times where he got like a lot of yards off of his run, but again, it wasn't like he was under that kind of pressure. It was just whether he didn't like what he saw, maybe the receivers couldn't get themselves open, or or the hole was so wide he just ran.
And Toby, I agree. The wide receivers did. The passes did seem a little off tonight. I mean, we saw. I mean, 5 throws down the field, and one of them was the same play 3 times.
Yeah.
So I mean, Travis Kelce was definitely missed. I can't say that tonight because a lot of you get 3 and 5, 3rd and 5 twice, and you can't convert on either one of those. Travis Kelce gets everyone else open. There's no one else that any team respects on the offensive side of the ball until they show it.
And the thing about Travis is that, when everybody's covered that field, he can find that little hole in the middle of the field.
Exactly.
Boom. Extends to play.
Exactly. Yeah. So I agree. You guys can catch us. We'll be live on Monday from Chicken and Pickle in the Northland. So come and join us for the Red Hour. For myself, Darren Smith, Sean Tyler, also DJ Q. We'll all be there. Our new location, 6:30 to 7:30 every Monday night. So come for week 1. It'll be happening on Monday night.
Man, all I know is it can only go up from here. Yeah, and I'll be honest. I literally think this is the worst that we'll see Kansas City play. And I also think we will see Travis Kelce back next week. I can assure you that need will be fine somehow, somewhere between now and next Sunday.
For those of you all who stayed up with us to watch our post-game show, we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Remember to like and follow, like and subscribe on all our social media platforms at Steve Walls KC, at Darren Smith WHB. Until next week, we are out of here.